Spawning in the upper left, in the blue, of course, representing Dragon Phoenix Gaming here in this losers match. GSL 2020 Season 2 champion. He is Rogue. And his opponent on the bottom right hand side of the map in the red. Representing the Afrika Freaks. He is Stats. So we saw Zest go for some very stylistic plays against Rogue in games 2 and 3 with the 2-base carrier rush. And it worked out well for him both times, but what I want to know is whether Stats is going to do something similar, because honestly, Stats has some stylistic play, but he plays the current meta. He plays very close to the current meta, and it's just more about how he decides to be aggressive, how he does, and how well he defends is what defines him more so than having extremely tailored specific builds. Zest, of course, if there's one thing he's good at, it is at coming up with and executing builds. Is his macro perfect? No, I mean, he's known for his Zest bank, right? But he comes up with these incredible builds that define the meta for months at a time. I mean, he came up with the Adept build that just killed Zergs willy-nilly for months. It still kills Zergs on occasion. But Stats, however, I mean, he's just going to play whatever is standard for the most part. I mean, I'm sure he does play and refine and try to come up with his own builds, but it's not quite as significant as what you'll see. You might see a slight variation as he tries to find some efficiency somewhere to enable him to play a more defensive style. But again, not all that different from really any other player from the builds he chooses. As it will be a Stargate build. To no one's surprise, not really. Stargate's pretty much the only way you can get on into a mid-game into somewhat even fashion in PvZ. But really the question now is whether it will be Stargate into Twilight, whether it will be Stargate into Second Stargate, whether it will even be 2-base Stargate into Quick Carriers. All of these things are options. Just not sure which one it will be, not yet. There we go. So this will be a Void Ray first, which does mean that the Oracle that will eventually come out is less likely to get damage done. But on the flip side, it does mean the Void Ray will be able to extract its blood tax just a little bit faster, knock down that Overlord in time. Or faster, I guess, and maybe supply block Rogue. But Rogue is very supply blocked. That's a problem. He has third base on the way, of course, and he does have an Overlord that really just got started when he was close to supply block. So yeah, Rogue here, he's not happy. I mean, yeah, he's gonna actually trade away some Zerglings that will allow him to build this extra queen and build a drone or two. But I mean, he is rather supply blocked for the time being. And actually, this Void Ray is not even going to go try. It's not even going to knock down the Overlord for the time being, as he's still very interested in defending the third base. And that is surprising. Generally, you would expect to see this Overlord get taken down. Alright, so in the Oracle, we'll dive on in, not get a lot done, and actually it's going to take a little bit more damage than you would expect, but look at this. Is this just the meta now? Is this something that I've missed over the last, like, several days? Because Zest did it twice, and now Stats is doing it again. Maybe this is just Stats watching the games from Zest and says, okay, or the Zest's game against Rogue and says, okay, Rogue seems to be weak to this. Maybe I'll go do this too. That seems like a good idea. Because now we will have Adepts get warped on in here in the spot. So yeah, these Zerglings won't really be able to get a whole lot done. They got a couple of Adepts, so that's going to be rather nice. So there we go. Carriers are on the way, and actually this one's pretty cool. So this is honestly a better build. Okay, I don't know if I can say a better build, but certainly. Oh, Oracle's gonna go down. This is a better macro build than what Zest has went for. So Zest, he went for +1 very quickly. All right, he said, I want my +1 carriers, +0 carriers. I mean, whatever. +1 carriers though. Give me some of that. However, stats, instead, he got a actually properly timed third base. He got a 350 third base here, and that is going to be very nice for him from an economic perspective. It does mean he will be able to afford it more later on, even if his +1 air is going to be slightly delayed. That being said, +1 air versus +0 makes a big difference when we're looking at dealing with Corruptors. So, of course, Corruptors there are on their way. Well, they will eventually be on the way, as the Spire is halfway done. But now we do have stats. He's got the double carrier. We're going on out onto the map for the double carrier harass once again. This worked really well for stats, so Zest, or excuse me, for Zest, so stats is going to do the same thing. So now the carriers will be found by the queens here, but the queens don't have a lot of transfuses, so they will start going on down rather quickly. And 2 queens getting assassinated. Ow, this is a lot of overlords, excuse me, that are in danger, but there are enough spores here, enough queens that it's not really going to be that big of a deal. As another queen's going to get targeted down. Meanwhile, though, with Zerglings have found their way on into the main base, but with this warp of Zealots, and honestly with the carriers that can be there, yeah, this is not going to get a whole lot done. So we have 12 Corruptors on the way, and here's the thing, right? Unlike the game against Zest, why are these roaches doing on in the middle line? Oh, goodness. One carrier goes down as well. That's a bit unfortunate. As, well, stats is being found, harassed all over the map here. Really good job there from Rogue to cause some chaos. But what I was going to say was the big deal in this game compared to the game against, the Zest game against Rogue, where he played this style. Stats can actually recall his carriers that are on walkabout. So when the Corruptors do fly out on the map, he's just going to be a recall and do that, much like you would do with the battlecruiser when Corruptors get out. But, well, one carrier has already died. +1 air attack is not done, by the way. It's getting close, but it's not done yet. And how many Void Rays do we have on the map here? We have 3 Void Rays for 17 Corruptors. I mean, that's not going to be all that great here. Corruptors are just going to target down the Void Rays. Yeah, Void Rays are good against Corruptors, but +1 air attack is not done yet, and there's just not enough here. So we will have the Corruptors are going to dive on top of these carriers. And yes, there are some Archons. That's nice, sure. But as long as these carriers go on down, I mean, stats is just kind of dead. That being said, the shield battery overcharge will be able to keep things alive for a little bit longer, and a decent amount of these Corruptors are going to go down, but look at these splits. Oh, you know what? Shield battery overcharge actually is not going to be able to get as much done as he would like. And now +1 is done. Flex Vein is just about done. And that does mean that these Corruptors will be forced on back. But stats did not get nearly as much damage done as Zest did with this style. And Rogue has gotten more. So it's one of those things where I think we saw stats say, oh, hey, Zest, this looked really good when you did it. I'm going to do it too. But Zest has a much better understanding of the build. And therefore, it's not going to be as great. But now we have the push coming on in from Rogue. That's a lot of Roaches. That's a lot of Ravagers are on the way. And how many? We only have 12 Corruptors. There were 17. So with the amount of Void Rays that are going to be out on the map here, that gets a little bit scary. There are, of course, one carrier on the map. So that being said, though, this is a lot of Queens. There are 9 Queens on the map, 11 Corruptors, and that is really the big threat here. The Roaches on the ground, I mean, they are... If everything in the air goes down, then they're a threat, but otherwise they're not really. And with the amount of Immortals and +1, it's going to be fine there. Really the question is whether the Air Army can stay alive, can deal with these Corruptors, and really last to make sure that things do happen. Or make sure things last so the hold can happen here. As now Rogue is going to come pushing on in. Corruptors are just fighting strong against the Void Rays, but Shield Battery Overcharge is here, of course, and it is keeping these Void Rays somewhat alive. But the Biles are going to land. And the Bile's landing here, it does make this hold a little bit more difficult. But that being said, though, this army from Rogue is shrinking down. The Queens are starting to die. The Roaches, the Ravagers are starting to die. This one Immortal has done tremendous, tremendous work. And yeah, it looks like the Corruptors here, they're going to try to pee down a base. I guess that's going to be the thing. There we go. And do we have Blink? No, we don't. No Blink. Void Rays are not... Okay, actually, the Void Ray is actually going to do a fairly good job of knocking these down. Because, of course, +1 air is a thing now. So the natural will stay alive. And once again, Rogue is going to try to move out across the map. This time, of course, there are no Queens. There's less anti-air, so the Void Rays will be that much more powerful. And with Immortals as well on the way. I mean, +2 air attack is on the way, +2 ground attacks on the way. If Zest can hold this, which is looking less and less like that will be possible. If Zest can hold, he's going to be in a damn fine spot. But it's looking like that is not going to happen here. As it's 90 army supply to 37. Rogue has Zest's number. The 4th base is going to get broken. And once the 4th base gets broken, there's not a whole lot that Stats will be able to do. GG Rogue. 3rd base on the way here for Stats. Looks like it was a 350 3rd base. Oracles, of course, there are 2 of them. And looks like they've got nothing just yet, but they have been pooled. So that does mean that maybe, just maybe, Stats is going to be able to get some extra damage done with that. But Rogue, he does have his spores done in time. And it does look like this is going to be a Queen Walk build. Alright, there's a lair on the way, of course, but we do have a Roach Warren at that 4 minutes and 34 minutes and 40-second timers. One Oracle will just go down immediately. Rogue doing a fantastic job of just targeting this down. So, 2 Oracles for 4 workers and 1 Oracle going down out of that? I'm not a big fan. It doesn't feel all that great. Meanwhile, Stats behind this. This is only single Stargate. He does have +1 on the way. A bunch of additional gateways, and it's going to be +1 Blink behind this. This is pretty cool. This is not something you see all that often. Not at all. So we're going to have to see whether it will work on out for him here. As again, +1 Blink. It does mean that if this is a Queen Walk, which actually it's not going to be, as there's an Evo Chamber on the way. I think in part because, well, it was a double Oracle build. Double Oracle does tell you that it's not double Stargate. Well, you say if it was a Queen Walk build, +1 Blink Stark does seem like a fairly good response to that. But no, we have Roach Speed, of course. It's just going to be Roach Ravager. Roach Hydra, okay. This is pretty cool. This is something that we've seen players start to experiment with a little bit more. And something that I honestly kind of expected to see a bit more of, even more so, once we saw the... what was it, the Void Ray change? There was a change that happened. I'm like, man, I think we're going to see a lot more Roach... Ew, it was the Baneley change. Right, so because Hydraling Bane is no longer nearly as effective... It did feel like we were going to see a little bit more Roach Hydra, especially considering you can get into lurkers pretty well. Anyway, Hydra Den is done. We have a 4th base on the way here for Rogue. And yeah, this actually is going to be straight on Roach Hydra. We are getting Hydra upgrades. This is not just like a quick lurker tech or something. Although quick lurkers against what we have Stats going for might not be terrible. And never mind, so it's going to be +1 Blink Stalker Colossus. It's not going to be like a 2.5 base timing. Stats fully getting all of his 6 gases. So he's going to look to hit maybe that's what, a 9-minute timing Blink Stalker, a +1 Blink Stalker Colossus, maybe +2, and you get a bunch of sentries and you try to enforce your will on the map. But I mean, Rogue, I think he's probably going to try to hit a little bit before then. Probably hit around the 160 odd supply mark. Because again, you know, Massive Roach Hydra, they're fantastic against Stalkers. I mean, Sniper, Lingby and Hydra has not been a thing for a while. I mean, it is kind of, we see players like Cyril and other Zerg players try to make it work, but with how heavily nerfed Baneleys are against everything that's not light units, you just don't see it. It's just not good. Against Protoss, that is. Against Terran, it's a fantastic style. It gets you into lurkers well enough, and that works out. But look at this. So we have... Yeah, this is Blink Stalker Disruptor. Okay, that's not exactly what I expected. But that is going to be rather nice against this Roach Ravager Hydra style that we do see coming on in from Rogue. Now, this 4th base is dead. This 4th base is very dead. And actually, yeah. Oh, was that a kill? I think that was a cancel, but I didn't see the... Oh, that was a kill. I mean... Everyone was aware that that was going to die, so I'm very surprised that we didn't see that be a kill, not a cancel. Anyway, one disruptor will go on down here, and now we have Zerglings getting on top of everything. 2nd disruptor getting targeted down, and they're not in range of shield battery just yet, so the 2nd disruptor will go on down, and now it's just +1 Blink Stalkers against a bunch of Hydra, Ling, Roach Ravager, all those fun stuff coming on in here. Shield battery overcharge is going to go up, but it's just going to go down here. More and more Stalkers are getting warped on in, of course, but the army of Rogue is powerful here, doubling the army supply here of stats, and that disruptor shot not really going to land. 83 army selected, 28. More and more stalkers are getting blinked on in, of course. But there are just not enough disruptors. There's not enough splash here to really deal with things. Now, this is a bit of a choked off situation. That's kind of annoying, right? That is it's getting a little bit difficult for Rogue to really find his way on in. But look at this. Four gateways are going to get targeted down or get depowered, so there's less weapons even so. And the Oracle now, it's waiting for the Hydras to run on out to make sure that maybe it can dive on in. But that's not going to be enough. GG 2-0. Rogue. He has stats number, and it's going to be Rogue versus Dream.